Jim Brett, President and CEO of the New England Council. Thanks for tuning in this month's episode of Inside the Corner Office. We catch up with the leaders of some of our region's most well-respected businesses and organizations to learn more about their career paths and about the institutions they lead. This month, I'm delighted to be joined by a leader of an incredible organization here in Boston that is doing incredible work to prevent suicide and support survivors. Kathleen Marchi is the President and CEO of Samaritans, which is headquartered in Boston and has served our region for the past 50 years. As we'll learn today, Kathy has an impressive career in nonprofit leadership here in New England, has overseen remarkable growth at Samaritans. We'll learn more about the services this organization provides in our communities. And perhaps, most importantly, those of you tuning in can help support their important work and life-saving work. Kathy, it's great to see you again. Thanks for taking the time to join me today.
My pleasure, Jim. Thank you so much for having me.
You know, you always find it inspiring to hear about the professional journey of our guests on this program. So let's start there. What sparked your passion for the issue of suicide prevention and brought you to Samaritans?
Yeah, that's such a nice question to start with, Jim. Thank you. I am incredibly inspired every day by the work that Samaritans does. It's really the people I work with and the community of people who come to Samaritans for help and support. But I will go back to where it really what sparked it, what began for me was living and working in a Boston suburb. 2013 and 2014, we experienced a loss of 3 teens to suicide in that community. And that really, again, being a parent, working in the community, it really was something that I became very deeply engaged through the work I was doing and involved in how we would support the community. And Samaritans was one of the organizations that came in to help us and to help stabilize and to help us think about what is grief support for a community. How do we help our neighbors, our kids, our friends? And it was remarkable to have the support of the organization at that time. And I think what I took away from that most importantly was that everyone can play a role in suicide prevention. And that's what's inspiring me. That's what keeps me every day thinking about that and moving forward.
I mean, you've had a very successful career in the nonprofit and education sectors. So tell us more about your career path prior to joining Samaritans.
Yeah, it's like many careers, right? Zigzagged here and there and went in and out of different sectors. The most important thing to me was following what felt good and right for me at the time, right? What fit for what I needed and wanted to do and the challenges that were before me. And I'm grateful for all of the experiences I had in the for-profit sector and all along the way. But I think each time I looked at and tried to take with me what were the things that I learned, what were the lessons, what were the ways I could bring that experience forward to the next experience, to the next opportunity. And so in some ways, I think about Samaritans and what are the decisions we make as a nonprofit leader that are not that different than a for-profit leader, right? When you're thinking about how do you reward and compensate your team? How do you think about your presentation to the world, right? How you market the work that you do. It's not that dissimilar. So I think it's just been taking all the experiences and the lessons with me.
We all know that Samaritans is the largest suicide prevention organization here in New England. But tell us a little more about the organization's history.
Yeah, we are based on the principles that were founded in the Samaritans in the UK, where Samaritans began. Samaritans in the United States started here in Boston with our organization. Monica Dickens is the was the great-granddaughter of Charles Dickens, worked with Samaritans in the UK and came to the United States and started the Boston location. In fact, it was donated space in the basement of the Arlington Street Church, although we're not affiliated with any religious organization. There's 22 rotary phones and volunteers to begin this work. And it's the same principles of compassion, compassionate listening, non-judgmental listening, and support for people who are struggling.
Samaritans is probably best known by many people for the suicide prevention helpline that you operate, but I know there are other services that you also provide. So can you share some of them with us that you offer?
Yeah, I think like many of us, right? We've seen the signs in the train stations and on the bridges, and that's what we know of Samaritans. And in fact, that is a really important part of the work that we do, right? 24/7, we answer calls. We're part of the 988 network now nationally. And that makes it easier for people to remember the number no matter where they are to reach help and support. We also have all of the legacy lines. So all of the lines, all of the calls that came into lines that existed prior to 988 and prior to when we had the statewide toll-free number. So we answer all of the calls to that old number because, of course, it's on billboards or bulletin boards, or it's on someone's phone or on a magnet somewhere. So we're taking all of those calls. And then we also have our Hey Sam texting program, which is for young people up to the age of 25 to reach help by text. So they're reaching their peers and they're communicating via text. So all of those calls and texts and all of that work together is about 100,000 interactions a year with people. In addition to that, we do education and outreach, and this is something we hope everybody will take advantage of, that where we can come in and talk about what are some of the myths around suicide, what are warning signs, what would I say if someone said to me, I am struggling and I need help? How do I help a friend? And so we do that really anywhere. We can do it in corporate settings. We'll do it at schools, of course, community organizations, wherever we can go to do that. And we really think that really every corporation, every business, should take us up on that, that we should be everywhere. And then the other main piece of work that we do is support people who have lost a loved one to suicide. So we spend time on programs and on meeting people where they are. So we used to have open meetings that were available in person. Now we also have virtual meetings. We have programs that are geared towards people and the specific kind of either their specific loss or the time, right? Somebody has a recent loss versus a long ago loss, parents of a child who they have lost to suicide. So we have all these programs to support people because that journey can be so isolating and lonely because it's such a unique and stigmatized loss. So those are the main core programs. We also have added a couple of other things recently. We have a survivors of suicide attempt group that we offer, and that's not a drop-in group, but a closed group with a tremendous amount of support for people who have attempted suicide. And for them, from what we're hearing from people, is that for many of them, it's the first time they've ever talked about their attempt, right? And certainly unique to find others that they can talk to who have been through that same journey, that same experience. It's been a very successful program, and we have a tremendous wait list, so we're trying to grow that program as well. But we're really thinking about the different ways that we can meet people and connect with them in the ways that will be most impactful for them.
In recent years, we've seen an increase in demand for mental health services in our country. And in many areas, unfortunately, there's a shortage of mental health providers and services. So can you share about what you've seen and how those challenges have impacted the work that you do at Samaritans?
Sure. So we work, tandem with mental health providers, and so whether or not there certainly is a shortage, but whether or not there's a shortage, we are available to people when they're not able to reach their therapist or be in a group that they're in or in a program, right? So we're 24/7. We can be a great resource to people when they don't have access to other mental health supports. So that's one part, that we're always available. The other important thing is that this is not just about mental health resources being limited, that when people are being impacted and those resources are limited and they are also contending or dealing with things like access to food, right? We just came out of this whole issue with SNAP, housing, other kinds of challenging environments that they live in or deal with. There's research and support that shows that when folks feel like the systems that are meant to support them are not available, that they are not they're not finding the help they need, that they're a burden, and that burden then can lead to thoughts of suicide, and not having somewhere to turn, not being able to find help for what they need. That hopelessness can grow exponentially, and that's where we see the increase in risk. So it's really, the resources are, not just say, mental health providers, but all of those resources, all of those social services are so crucial for people.
I understand that the federal government has made some changes in recent months to the 988 suicide hotline. Can you tell us more about those changes and the impact they're having on the communities that you serve?
Yeah. We were very distressed. One of the changes that was made was to remove the option 3, which was to reach LGBTQ plus support. And we were very distressed by that. The messaging there is that your identity does not need any particular kind of support. Your identity is not relevant in this concern. And that's really devastating to people. And I would not want to see them remove the option for veterans or for language. So we did not want that change to happen. What we've done is try to message around resources that are still available. The Trevor Project is still available for people to reach out to and to find support there. We are still there. We are still here 24/7 for people. 988 is still available. But it did send a message that was disturbing and distressing to us. And I think this is one of the areas where Samaritans has really been leaning in the last couple of years in terms of working with our legislators to talk about these issues. Granted, we're talking in Massachusetts where we have widespread support, but it is important to make sure that we're talking about these issues. And it's one of the things that we've been really proud to be part of conversations up on, in the State House around mental health, around suicide, around poverty, around LGBTQ plus issues, because all of this connects to people's well-being and their feeling of belonging, which is the piece that is so essential, right? To feel like you belong, you're valued, you're wanted here, you're needed here. And so we've been part of those conversations. In fact, actually, conversations with legislators is what led to the forming of Hey Sam, our peer-to-peer, our youth peer-to-peer text line, came out of conversations with legislators and led to a focus group of youth that then came to us and said, this is what young people want. And we said, well, we can do that. We know how to do texting, and we know young people. And so we can train them to support other young people. And that's how Hey Sam was formed.
Another area of interest to many people is the police officers are often the first to respond to instances of suicide. And I know that you at Samaritans has a new initiative to help the law enforcement officers to responding to tragic situations and assisting survivors. Can you tell us more about this program and how expansive it is and how many communities are involved?
Yeah. Well, this is a terrific program. We're very, very happy to be partnering with the police departments. So this was actually founded in 1997 by Dr. Frank Campbell, and there are other LOSS teams. It's called the LOSS team, Local Outreach to Suicide Survivors. And these programs exist elsewhere in the country and in Massachusetts. So we're really happy that we're joining this network of support. And what happens is that the police department will reach out to us, and we will dispatch then a team of trained individuals to go to meet with the family of the loss. And we go within 24 to 48 hours to provide that kind of support and guidance and assistance in those immediate hours where everything is just really so overwhelming. And it provides support to the police because, again, the police are trained to do the work that they need to do in that environment. And we want to help them manage the emotional piece, the intensity of that. But we also want to form the relationships with the police departments because it is so challenging for the police who arrive on scenes such as this and have to contend with those environments and what they're seeing and what they're experiencing. And for some, it may be the first time, and for some, it may be many times, depending on where they are. So we really are really happy to be part of this network, as I said, and we know that from some of the research on folks who have suffered a loss to suicide, this kind of intervention and connection can shorten time frame from accessing support and help around suicide loss from 4.5 years to 6 weeks if we can connect with them early on. And so the efficacy, the impact of this program is really, really significant. The towns that we're in, we were happy to connect in towns where there was no loss team already established or existing. Brookline, Canton, Weston, Westwood, Norwood, Sharon, and Walpole.
Mm-hmm. So you hope to expand even more departments over the next year and a half?
Yeah, exactly. To towns where, that this relationship doesn't yet exist and where we could be helpful.
And how has it gone? I mean, you've gotten good feedback from both.
Yes. The feedback from the police chiefs is really, and the point person in each of the departments, they're relieved to know that they have us as a resource. And in a couple of cases, it's led to us connecting with folks that have even had a loss much sooner, and so we're able to connect with them and go and have an interaction, a meeting with people, and provide the resources that we have for them, no matter how long the loss has been.
Mm-hmm. The Samaritan organization has experienced incredible growth under your leadership over the past 6 years. Tell us a little more about your approach to that, supporting that growth, but more importantly, your vision for the future of Samaritans.
This I am extremely proud of. I inherited an amazing organization with an incredible reputation and doing incredible work. What I saw was the potential for us to deepen and expand the work that we were doing in ways that would really reach more people and really connect with people on different levels. And so our vision is a world without suicide. That's the vision of the organization. And so everything we do is driving towards that vision of a world without suicide. And all the growth is directed at that too. There's more to be done. We've done a lot, as we said, but there's more to be done. We have a terrific strategic plan that we're in now. We're actually coming to the end of that plan, but in the 3 buckets of things that we identified, it was reaching more people, innovating and being creative in the ways that we were doing the work, and then strengthening the team. This was a relatively small nonprofit when I started, and we've, we're significantly bigger, as you said now. We created that strategic plan and then a comprehensive campaign to raise the money to operationalize that plan, right? Because a strategic plan can be full of wonderful ideas, but if you don't have the resources to build it and to do the work, it may not happen. And so we set out to raise $26 million, and we have raised over $24 million, and we hope to close the campaign soon, so that we can sort of get back to focusing on the work, right? But it's really been extraordinary, and we've found so many people who want to be engaged and supportive and part of this work, this journey. So the vision for me continues to be this, right? To a world without suicide, to think about the ways that we can grow. I've often said to people, we can grow in numbers, right? Just increasing the numbers, right? Show that growth. But I see us growing like a balloon, that everything we do reaches more people and that it has more impact, and that we're doing it in ways that maybe some of which we hadn't even thought of before, right? We didn't think to do, or we weren't doing before, but we could do now, and that we know have impact. And looking to other organizations that are doing great work and wanting to think about how we can bring that work to our community.
What about the funding itself? Do you get assistance from the legislature, from federal government?
We do. So we're very fortunate. As part of the 988 network, we have funding from the state and some money that has come through the federal government. And we will continue to do that work. We have a line item which has been tremendously supportive of our work and has allowed us to do a lot of what we do. It started in support of us being the 24/7 line, I think 9 years ago, and has expanded to include things like Hey Sam, which is the only youth peer-to-peer text line in the state of Massachusetts, and has helped us to grow all of these programs and services. The campaign has also, of course, led us to really expanding all of the resources so that fundraising pool is a well-balanced one and enables us to feel confident,
So the 24 million that you raised, what period of time was that?
We started the campaign 2 years ago.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
It is impressive. I think what it shows us is how many people were kind of out there wanting to be part of this work and be connected and engaged in this work. And there was a lot of time that went into the planning before the campaign began, of course, but it has given us an opportunity to meet with many new people and to really, so what people are doing really with us is committing to supporting the organization over a period of time. And so that is enabling us to find new donors, to spend time connecting with people, but also meeting new people. So that commitment has been really extraordinary for us.
Wow, congratulations. That's extraordinary. Should be very proud of that.
Yes.
Very proud. Wow.
We really are. It is a true team effort, including all of our program staff, right? They come to us to meet donors sometimes. They engage with us when a foundation comes here, and we bring a team, representation from our team to meet with the foundation to say, this is the work I do every day. This is the part I play in this organization. It's been really important for people to hear from everybody and to really know the dedication that this team has to this work.
Many people feel somewhat helpless when it comes to preventing suicide, but I know that Samaritan's message is that every person can play a role.
Right.
So what is your message to the average person listening today about how they can help prevent suicide?
Yeah, it's such an important question. We all have a role to play in the sense that as we learn and are open to talking about mental health and suicide prevention, that allows us to be present and hearing and seeing in others what's happening. So, we can walk right by, someone in the office, how you doing? How are things? How was your weekend? And then we can really listen to what someone's saying and listen for things that might be different than what we heard before. And some of the messaging is, ask for help, get help if you need it. That's hard to do. For many of us, it's hard to do. For so many, that is outside of the realm of possibility. But people might be letting us know that they're struggling in different ways. And so we might see changes in people that we can say, hey, I've noticed this change in you, and I just want to check in and see how you're doing. Or listening to those reports of how the weekend went, right? And what is someone telling us? And being maybe unafraid to ask those questions. I'm concerned, or you sound really stressed, or is there something I can do to help? And then what I think many of us are afraid of is, what if someone tells me that they're struggling, and then what do I do, right? I don't need to be a therapist. I don't need to know how to fix something or help someone with what they're struggling with. I need to listen, have compassion, be non-judgmental, and then help people figure out what it is that they can do for help. That might be as simple as, do you know about 988? Would you, make a call to 988 to ask for help and to have some resources shared with you? Is there an HR department and an employee assistance program that you can refer somebody to, or offer that as a way of them getting help? But I think if I said, in one sentence, I think it would be, to befriend people, to be non-judgmental and compassionate, and to remember that a conversation can save a life. It can make the difference. If you said to somebody, I see that something is happening and I'm worried about you, I care about you, and I want to know how I can help.
That's a nice message. You have a little gap to go to reach your goal of 26 million. So maybe this is an opportunity to ask the question for those tuning in today who are interested in supporting Samaritan and all the wonderful work that you're doing. How can, whether they be individuals or businesses, get involved and help support the very, very important work that you and your incredible team do each and every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week?
Right. Well, thank you for that question and for giving me the opportunity to share. So, we would love to be out there, in corporate environments, doing these workshops, sharing about our work, telling people about everything that we do. We want to make sure people know all the services that we have. So that's one of the ways that we can not just educate them, but share the resources, which we know is really important. We need volunteers. People can come to us and volunteer. They can learn about the volunteer opportunities on the website. They can certainly make a gift, as you said, to the campaign. They can certainly connect with us. We are in that time of year when there is so many important organizations seeking support as the year comes to a close. They can find information about us on our website and do that. Some folks have done what we call a hope raiser. So this is sort of an individual fundraiser that people do. Kennedy Elsie did this for us in September from Mix 104.1, Carson and Kennedy. Kennedy did a walk, and it was to raise awareness and funds for Hey Sam. And she raised, last year she raised about $50,000, and this year she raised over $70,000 from the public, from people, hear her story and heard her talk about Hey Sam and the importance of the work that we do. And so there's, different ways for people to become engaged, and certainly would be more than delighted to have a conversation with anybody who would like to consider a gift to Samaritans, but would like to learn more. They're certainly happy to do that. And then, of course, at the very least, I hope people will put 988 and put that in their phones and tell their kids about Hey Sam.
Yeah. You mentioned 100,000 calls a year.
Yes, a year.
Is there a certain time of the year where you see a substantial increase?
Yeah.
Is it this time of the year? Is it the holiday?
Yeah, right. It's a good question, because a lot of us think that it would be around the holidays, right? It's really in the spring where the rates of calls go up, and where there are more people who die by suicide in the spring. And what we know about that is that at this time of year, when it's dark at 4:30 and it's cold and people are sort of hunkering down, we're all in the same kind of like mode, right? We're all in that same place. But in the spring, for many of us, that the flowers and the buds on the trees, and it's warming up, and people are starting to feel good and sort of like come out of that winter cocoon. For folks who are struggling, they don't feel that. If they're not feeling that at that time of year, they can feel even more hopeless, even more isolated because they're not feeling like the rest of us. They're not feeling that sense of spring and hope and newness. And so we can see rates of people struggling and people dying by suicide in the spring, in fact.
Well, I want to thank you for joining me today for a very informative and quite frankly, inspiring message that Samaritans gives to all of us. And I learned a lot. I thought I knew an awful lot about Samaritan, but I learned even more today from your presentation. So I just want to say thank you and continued success in all that you do and your extraordinary team.
Thank you so much, Jim. That's great. I couldn't have asked for more. Thank you.